Oh, you guys don't understand how terrible this would be. Oh, the sun wouldn't rise until 9 a.m. Who cares? I'm at work. It doesn't matter. I'd rather not want to kill myself because it's pitch black at 5 p.m. when I'm leaving work.
Is the change to permanent daylight savings time about our convenience or a desperate attempt at combating an impending energy crisis? Let's get into it.
Holy cow, folks, the U.S. House of Representatives passed by a wide margin to make daylight saving time permanent. As a pediatric specialist, I'm going to explain to you why this is not necessarily a good idea from a medical standpoint.
Which means many people will already be at work, kids will be in second period, and it'll still feel like night.
Welcome back to Side Angle. For this video, I'm changing the format and I decided to just read the internet's reactions so you don't have to. You can be in on the different opinions Americans have about today's news from the comfort of your TV. Today's topic is the Congress bill pass on daylight savings. Let's see what everyone is saying.
Good news, everyone. We passed the daylight savings bill. Daylight savings. We did it. We got it done. We came together and we got it done for you guys.
For you guys, wow.
Anyway, we're gonna head out for another vacation, so...
That was hilarious. Here's what people are saying. You know, nobody asked for this. That's the overall consensus. Nobody asked for this. There's more important things for the Congress to worry about. But let's just see. Someone said, America has the weirdest priorities. There are R's and D's industries, but the focus on daylight savings, and 37,000 people agree with that. But aren't there more pressing matters? I'm confused. Doing everything but helping people. Rent is still $2,000 plus for a one bedroom, but thank you, I guess. And 35,000 people seem to agree that lowering the rent would probably change the life of Americans way much more than this bill on daytime savings. How about making the work week 4 days instead of 5? Very, very, very valid question. I see everyone fighting about whether it should have been permanent standard time or DST, but imagine how much extra daylight we'd have if there was only a 4-day work week. That would probably move the needle more. How does this make groceries cheaper? When will they get onto that? I wonder if it's not on their best interest to get onto that. That's why we're still struggling to pay groceries and they're diverging into something that is not even that relevant. 22,000 people agreed that women having bodily autonomy in 50 states is way much more important than this daylight bill. And 66,000 people agreed that the Congress should just stop talking to us altogether. There is a Congress fatigue going on. Let's hear another take.
Holy cow, folks, the U.S. House of Representatives passed by a wide margin to make daylight saving time permanent. As a pediatric specialist, I'm going to explain to you why this is not necessarily a good idea from a medical standpoint. Daylight saving time is when most of the United States moves the clocks forward an hour in order to maintain more light during the day. But when you make it permanent and you don't switch back and forth, that means during the fall and winter, when we're in that permanent hour forward, there are many parts of the country that would see the sun rise much later in the morning. It could be as late as 8:39 or even 10 o'clock in some areas, depending on where the location is relative to your time zone. The United States already tried and failed at this experiment miserably in 1974. It was supposed to be a 2-year trial, but they ended up stopping it early because once the first winter hit, people were struggling to get to work and getting their kids to school safely, as it was very dark for most of the morning in many parts of the country. Permanent daylight saving time can have a significant impact on your circadian rhythm, your biological time clock that keeps you awake during the day and asleep at night. So when you normally wake up in the morning and that sunlight hits your eyes, the hormone melatonin decreases to increase your alertness. But if we shift the clock an hour later permanently, then for a good chunk of the year, you're going to wake up by an alarm clock. It's going to be dark for several hours, and then you're not going to feel as alert throughout the day, and it'll impact your overall sleep cycle. Now, I get it. Changing the clocks twice a year can have a significant impact on your health. I've talked about this in the past. There's higher rates of heart attacks, motor vehicle collisions, etc. But if we're going to make a permanent change, we should move the clock back to standard time because that's more closely aligned with our biological time clocks. It's evidence-based and endorsed by the American Academy of Sleep Medicine. Let me know what you think in the comments section and hit that follow button if you want to learn more about your health.
Standard time. We wanted standard time. They couldn't even get that right. Apparently, almost 50,000 people agree that standard time would have been a better choice. Unsurprisingly, there's a divide between people who are happy with the extra hour in the morning and those who would prefer to have more daylight in the evening. Crazy, crazy divide, as the following comments will illustrate. Nothing is more depressing than driving to work in the dark and leaving in the dark. 13,000 people agree, though for the most part, everyone is driving to work in the dark. So one could argue that there is more flexibility in adding the extra daylight in the evening. Though, as you will see, people from different lines of work have different opinions about this. There are some very strong opinions that back up the divide. Not everyone wants an extra hour in the morning and vice versa. So here are some comments to illustrate that. No one needs it light at 5 a.m. and dark at 4 p.m. Someone said nobody needs sunrise at 8:30 a.m. And someone said I agreed. I wake up at 9. I would prefer the sun to get up around 10. Objection. Real people with real jobs have been awake for hours. So only jobs that occur during certain hours are real? Be so for real. That is actually a very interesting topic because it affects different lines of work differently. As we'll see, someone from a blue-collar job also had a separate opinion about this. Blue-collar worker here. You mean there are people that wait for light to start their day? What is that like? Objection. Your argument should be for higher wages for your position, not making everyone else wake up at the same time as you. Wow. I don't care what you say. Morning people get everything. Night people just want one effing thing. We are suffering. Give us more light at night. Amen. They took our overnight Walmart shopping. We can't bank at night. Dry cleaners are closed. Give us this hour. So there's the night owls versus early birds conversation. It's very much a nuance that appears in this discussion. If y'all can drive home in the dark at 4 p.m., then y'all can drive to work in the dark at 5 a.m. Almost 3,000 people agree with that. But almost 3,000 people also agree, who cares about sun in the morning? Y'all are at work anyways. I want sunlight when I get home at the end of the day. Very valid.
I get it. More sunlight in the afternoon means more time to do fun things. Like with many things in medicine and life, not everything you like or prefer is good for you. A later sunset means a later sunrise. In some areas of the US, it wouldn't be until like 9 a.m. with permanent daylight savings time, which means many people will already be at work, kids will be in second period, and it'll still feel like night, which is going to be awful for your circadian rhythm and sleep cycles and general health. Look, I want this bill to succeed. I don't want to keep on changing my clocks. But why wouldn't we choose to have permanent standard time, which is how our ancestors designed time in the first place, to follow the sun and our biorhythms, versus choosing permanent daylight savings time, which didn't even exist until the 40s, which has already failed once in the 70s. What do they call it when you make the same mistakes expecting different results? Insanity!
More than 5,000 people agree that morning dark is totally fine and they don't want dark before dinner. Some feel the opposite and others feel like they need light to wake up, so they would rather have it get darker early. Another nuance of this conversation is that it would affect different states in different ways, obviously. I've lived in Arizona most of my life. We don't do daylight savings time. I promise you'll get used to it. I live in Seattle. That's our summer. Sun sets at 10 p.m. We love it. I'm in Michigan. That happens every summer. Alaska here, y'all will be okay. Now, what about the reasonings behind the Congress passing this bill? Could there be something more than meets the eye? Could there be something deeper than just, we're doing this for y'all, this is for the betterment of all? Or is there another insidious reason for this to happen? Let's hear an interesting take that I found.
Is the change to permanent daylight savings time about our convenience or a desperate attempt at combating an impending energy crisis? Let's get into it. So, on July 14th, the House passed the Sunshine Protection Act in a 308 to 117 vote, which moves the U.S. one step closer to ending the twice yearly clock change. The bill now heads to the Senate. Now, this is something that politicians have been talking about for years, and officially, lawmakers say they're doing this for us to eliminate the burden of changing clocks, to give our families more evening daylight time, and to bring common sense to our everyday life. And sure, that all sounds so nice and grand, but then I got to thinking, when has this administration ever done something for us out of the kindness of their hearts, and why now? And then I remembered the impending global energy crisis. Now, the last time America tried permanent daylight saving time, it wasn't about convenience at all. It was 1973. The Arab oil embargo had triggered a full blown energy crisis. Gas lines stretched for blocks, and Richard Nixon needed to find a way to conserve fuel. So he signed the Emergency Daylight Saving Time Energy Conservation Act, which put the country on year round daylight savings time starting January 6, 1974. And the logic? More evening daylight means less electricity use. And initially, Americans loved it. 79% supported the change in December 1973. And then winter arrived and everything got dark. Literally. Under permanent daylight savings time, sunrise came roughly an hour later. In Washington, D.C., the sun didn't rise until after 8 a.m. on some winter mornings. Children waited at bus stops in pitch darkness. Parents walked kids to school with flashlights. And in Florida, 8 kids died in traffic accidents after the change, and 6 of those deaths were blamed directly on kids going to school in the dark. By February 1974, public support had crashed to 42%, and Congress reversed course in October. Fast forward to 2026, and they're trying it again. And what's going on in the world right now? A full-scale war of aggression against Iran with no end in sight. We're talking airstrikes and blockades in the Strait of Hormuz, which is the narrow choke point that once carried a fifth of global oil. Trump warned in June that without a deal, U.S. oil reserves would run out in 4 weeks, risking bedlam. Well, the war has started back up, and the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, which was created in response to the 1973 energy crisis, has now hit its lowest level since 1983. And that's not a coincidence. Just like in the 1970s, Washington is facing a real energy emergency, and the official story is that permanent daylight savings time will improve our lives. But history suggests that this is just a desperate attempt at averting a crisis that was manufactured by this administration in the first place. This is Monique with the Black Belt Daily signing out.
Very good insight from Monique. Do you all think there's fundament into her theory? Could that be the real reason why we're seeing this urgency in passing this bill? Either way, she touched on a very important point, which is kids going to school in the dark. A few commenters actually alluded to this, and there are 2 different opinions. So, some say kids are already walking to school in the dark and in the cold, and many agree that changing the school time is the next logical course of action amidst these daylight saving changes. So from all of these comments, I think one thing is pretty clear. Whether people understand the details of daylight saving time or not, a lot of Americans are simply tired of changing their clocks twice a year. Because as this comment alludes, studies have said that the switch back and forth is bad for people, so there is no winning. And someone else said each time there's a switch, they suffer from weeks of insomnia, which I'm pretty sure it's a common experience for thousands, if not millions of Americans doing these clock changes. So there's a little bit of a consensus that everyone would rather stop switching back and forth altogether. There's also the angle of how differently this change affects people. Parents are thinking about their kids' sleep schedules. People who work early mornings are thinking about driving in the dark, while others are just making jokes about losing an hour of sleep. It's one policy, but everyone experiences it differently. Now, I'm curious to hear what you think. If you could choose, would you keep daylight saving time, get rid of it completely, or keep standard time all year? Let me know in the comments, because judging by everything I've read today, this is one of those debates where almost everybody has an opinion. I'll see you on the next side angle.